Boxing Ego here. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon on the top of your screen to get notified when the latest new content drops. 1. Eddie Hearn has reportedly signed 6 fighters to DAZN app, new streaming app, but Jermall Charlo did a recent interview and he says he doesn't really know Eddie Hearn. Stay tuned. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing if you want to become part of the gang. Notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the super chats, channel donations, the Venmo donations, and the Patreon family. We working. Shout out to Lions Only, Jermall and Jermall Charlo. Jermall had a media day. He has an upcoming fight with Austin Trout, a guy his brother is familiar with because his brother fought him. I was at that fight. Don't think I'll be at this particular fight in LA because I'm probably going to go to the Crawford Horn fight instead, and they're on the same night. But salute to the Charlos and their movement. Now, Fight Hub, they did an interview at the media day with Jermall Charlo, where they captured it, and actually it was Fred who was asking the questions from Barbershop Conversations. Shout out to him. He asked about the deal that was offered. Reports surfaced that Eddie Hearn and DAZN streaming app, this alleged $1 billion investment app, was supposed to take over America, offered the Charlo brother some kind of multi-fight deal. And Jermall's response was very candid, and he said something to the effect, link is in the description so you guys can, I seen it on Fight Hub, so I'll link to their video. But what he said is, he says, I can't just jump into a deal. Like, I don't even know who Eddie Hearn is. Like, I don't know him, never met him a day in my life, never really spoke to him. Yeah, they reached out to me. I'm just paraphrasing, but this is pretty accurate, pretty close to what he said. He said, yeah, they reached out, but until you hear from me or my twin brother, it's all just speculation and all just talk. They reached out, but that's not how we operate. That's not how we work. We're not going to just jump into a deal because he's done whatever he's done with Anthony Joshua, for example, or because he's done good with other fighters. He said, because we don't know the logistics, we don't know the parameters, what you can do for us, and just because you made it work with, again, like Anthony Joshua, doesn't mean you can make it work. So it's very interesting. And what Charlo is saying here, he didn't disrespect Eddie Hearn. He just spoke the truth. He said, if he said he's never met him, then I'm gonna say he's never met him. But this is eerily similar to what I've been telling you on the channel, where Eddie Hearn, he was snickering, he was seeping from the pores, couldn't wait to reveal this big announcement. And you have YouTube channels and writers that were like, oh, Eddie's gonna drop the bomb on America and da-da-da-da. And when it was revealed, it was this streaming app. But I told you, no hate, but it's not gonna be as easy as you think to take over another section. You know what I mean? Just look at, I watch a lot of history, crime, drama, gangster flicks, shit like that. That's like coming over to somebody else's, like, let's say you're in New York and the alcohol prohibition or whatever era of gangsters, right? And the Italians run this section of New York. You can't be this new hotshot drug dealer and think you're just gonna take over their blocks and their area. You know what I mean? And that's how business is. Business is just, it's funny how similar business can be to like the underworld and like organized crime and shit like that. A lot of similarities. You have loyalty, sometimes backstabbing, people who give information to the other side and backstab you, and structure, a chain of command. It's very, that's why it's called organized crime, not low level dealers. I'm talking about like the mafia, mob and shit, mob ties, stuff like that, La Costa Nostra, that type of shit. You know what I mean? And business the same way. Cutthroat, it could be cutthroat like the Frank Lucas, and you know what I mean, what happens and how people achieve power and stuff like that. But anyway, I said all that to say it's not as easy as you think to take over somebody's territory. You know what I mean? And the fact is, Eddie Hearn, he's a good promoter, but he's an outsider. He's not from America, and he hasn't claimed stake in America. Whereas other people who have already been here and already promoting, whether they're from America or not, like Richard Schaefer is not from America, but he's put on events in America, and he's been doing it in America for quite some time. I mean, he was working with Golden Boy when Golden Boy was working with Heyman. So, you know what I mean? He has more experience. Eddie Hearn, this is kind of a new venture for him. And then now you got guys like Charlo who are coming out, and he's like, yo, the money, yeah, it's deals, but it's not a deal until we say it's a deal. And he's like, I'm not just going to jump for joy and like hop over to another situation. We don't know what you could really do for us. So again, I think Eddie Hearn and DAZN may have underestimated how it is to break through into a new market. You know what I mean? Because this interview, just go watch it and decide for yourself. Don't take my word for it. It sounds like the Charlos, they're businessmen. You know what I mean? They're professional athletes and they have a brand and a business, but it sounds like they're going to do what's the best for their business. And to me, it sounds like just from this and what Jermall said something that was very similar. So it sounds like him and his brother on the same page. He basically said that, like, I don't consider myself a free agent. I have a team and I have a general to speak to. So I'm worried about my fight with Austin Trout. You know what I'm saying? And he says, that's what it is. He's like, I could do lines only promotions and make the same money. It's not just about money. It's about who cares for me in the long run. Who cares about my career? So it sounds like there's loyalties and certain ties. And see, that's what another thing Eddie Hearn, I think, underestimated. Loyalty, business ties, and relationships. Like, let's say the Charlos are really cool with the Watson family, who's really cool with Al Heyman. Or let's say the Charlos are really cool with Al Heyman. You know what I mean? And they talk to Al. Like, let's say they're having marital problems. This is just all made up bullshit. I'm just giving you an example. But let's say one of them's having marital problems or needs financial advice and investment advice. And Al Heyman was there for them during those moments. See, they're going to have a different tie to him than Eddie Hearn. So you got to understand that money is cool. All these guys wear the flashy jewelry and like money and shit. I'm sure they want to make as much money as they can, but people keep like, oh, Wilder's stupid for not taking 12.5 million flat, or he's stupid for not signing, or Broner's stupid for not signing. But in all actuality, some of y'all are stupid because y'all would just sign and do it just solely for money, not knowing the behind the scenes stuff. So we got to take these fighters for what they're saying. And it sounds like the Charlos, they're open for business negotiations, but at the same time, they're going to do what's right or what they feel is right. You know what I mean? Money can't buy that. Money can't buy mentorship, tutelage. You know what I mean? And if they feel Al Heyman has done those things, or the Watsons, or whoever, Steven Espinoza, or whoever the situation is, then they're not going to just jump because Eddie Hearn or Bob Arum or whoever is just offering them a package deal. It has to make sense. And a lot of times it has to make sense beyond just monetary gain. You know what I mean? That's what it sounds like from the Charlo. He's like, I don't even know Eddie Hearn. You know what I mean? So that was very telling to me. Like, I don't know who this guy is. Like, I never had no dialogue with him. You know what I mean? I just know of him, basically. Right? Link in the description. You guys let me know what you want, but I respect that. I respect the hell out of that from the Charlos. I mean, the Charlos are straight shooters. They don't really beat around the bush. They tell you how you feel. But I mean, I respect that because at the end of the day, when your career is said and done, it's not just about how much money you're gonna make in a couple fights. It's about the long-term spectrum. It's about the big picture. You know what I mean? Because who wants to make maybe $1 million more per fight, but then in the end, if you lose or something, this guy didn't care about you, or this promoter didn't care about you, or this team just moves on to the next thing. You got to look at stuff like that. So anyway, we'll see. And as far as DAZN, we'll see who they signed. They said they got 6 people, but I really feel like if it was a huge name, they probably would have announced it by now. And it's funny because, like I said before, people keep talking about what Al Heyman and PBC shoulda, coulda, woulda did differently, but they're trying to get PBC fighters on their side. So obviously he can't be doing that bad if you want something that he has and that he's been investing in. You know what I mean? You got to look at deeper than just money. You got to look at the financial gain, but also you got to look at what has Steven Espinoza done for the Charlos or Broner or whatever. You know what I mean? What have they already been told? What promises have already been made to him? You know what I mean? So you have to do these things. You can't just lure them over with money, because my question have been the same since day one. The money's cool. Money's money. You know what I mean? And once you get a certain amount of it, you've probably bought everything that you wanted. You've traveled to some exotic places or whatever. So it's cool. You know what I mean? Now you got to look at the future, the big picture. And the thing is, with Eddie Hearn trying to conquer a new market, let's say the Charlo signed to DAZN. How does their streaming service work? Are there issues, technical support issues? Do they have issues with it buffering? Are people from Texas gonna get to see it in US time? Or since it's a app that really premiered in other areas, is it gonna be like a time lag? You know what I mean? Just different stuff like that. But bigger than that, who are the Charlos going to fight? Who else does Eddie Hearn have in his stable in or around that division that can fight? Like, can they get a Daniel Jacobs fight? He has an HBO contract. Will a guy with an HBO contract be able to fight a guy on DAZN? You know what I mean? Will he be able to get released? Will DAZN guy be able to go to HBO? You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of questions, and that's what happens with anything that's new. And these questions have to be revealed. And I told you, Eddie Hearn's probably gonna have to break the bank to get that marquee name and answer some of these questions. Who are these guys? Who's Broner gonna fight if he signs to DAZN? And the other thing is, a lot of these guys, like especially let's look at Charlo, both undefeated, both champions. One's a former champion, but he could be definitely has what it takes to be a champion at middleweight, right? And these guys have been groomed. They can get pay-per-view. You know what I'm saying? If they fight the right fights and it's mapped out correctly, and then a certain fight is crescendoed to and like built up or whatever, and the fans want it, they could charge a pay-per-view. Now, I'm not saying it's going to do 2.1 million views. I'm not saying all that. I don't know. It just depends what's written. But at the end of the day, they could do something, and that's where the real bucks are. If you could turn guys, transition them from TV to a pay-per-view, like let's say Mikey Garcia fought Lomachenko on pay-per-view, I would pay pay-per-view for that. You know what I mean? Let's say Mikey Garcia and Tank Davis have a few more fights, or excuse me, Lomachenko and Tank Davis have a few more fights, and then fight on pay-per-view. I would pay for Lomachenko versus Tank Davis on pay-per-view. You know what I mean? Let's say Charlo's and Jacobs or Charlo Triple G. I would pay a pay-per-view for that because I think these are all great fights. Jermall Charlo and Triple G. Why not? You know what I mean? People pay for Triple G to fight David Lemieux. You know what I mean? They pay for Canelo to fight Liam Smith and Amir Khan. So why wouldn't it and why couldn't it be a pay-per-view? You know what I mean? Especially when people pay for Terrence Crawford, Victor Posto. Not a bad fight, but was that a pay-per-view fight? You know what I'm saying? So with this DAZN streaming app, you have kind of a budget in place. So you're offering shoot out this amount of money, but at the end, they could be limited if there's no pay-per-view structure ultimately, because you would just be stuck with whatever deal you got until your contract is up or until you buy yourself out of the remainder of your contract. Whereas on Showtime, that's a network, an established network, unlike DAZN. I just told you, you can go to DAZN on the App Store on your phone right now, and at least in California, it doesn't show up. Nothing shows up in the App Store. So to me, they haven't specified or released it for American audiences as of right now, just to play with or whatever. Showtime's already established. And like I said, if they build guys right, the Charlos easily have the skill, the style, you know what I mean, the look, the mouthpiece, and the charisma to, you know what I mean, villain or whatever you want to call them, to get onto a pay-per-view. Same thing with Errol Spence. So long term, they have like Keith Thurman, Errol Spence could be a pay-per-view fight to me. Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford could be a pay-per-view fight. So you have those options. But on the DAZN, I don't know. I haven't heard anything about DAZN pay-per-view. But then here lies another problem with a subscription. If the price point is $20 a month, right? And then you have DAZN pay-per-view, which is additional, then why the fuck am I paying $20 a month? And then the best fight on the app, let's say Errol Spence signs and it's Errol Spence versus Keith Thurman. And then I got to pay another amount. Then what is the point of DAZN? What are the regular fights that are going to be on that? Because I don't need, then you're no different than pay-per-view. You know what I mean? It's just like HBO. HBO is running out of fights and they're not putting on that many frequent fights. So what's the point of having an HBO subscription? I'm just trying to give them the benefit of the doubt to put something up. But if the best fights are Ward versus Kovalev on pay-per-view or Canelo Triple G on pay-per-view, you could get that a one-time buy, and even having the regular HBO subscription, you might not need that. You know what I mean? Because you're just paying for two different things. And either way, you got to pay for the pay-per-view. A lot of questions, but shout out to the Charlos for their honesty. Link in the description. Make sure you smash the like button. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video, it's Ego signing off.
So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.